again, everyone. Welcome to Time Traveler's Coin Exchange. We're going to do episode 6 of The Coin Vault Has Opened. We're going to be looking at a bunch of different coins that I put away about 10 to 20 years ago while roll hunting. And unsearched wheat cent bags, like 5,000 count from eBay. And so some of these coins I'm finding more often than not are cleaned and damaged, and just my unexperienced eyes saw things that were not there. But this one here, it's kind of a low mint state. We're starting off with this one just because it was the top of the box. And we'll just continue going through the coins. This one looks like it's got its original surfaces, kind of a low mint state grade, probably like an MS62 or something. But it's refreshing at least seeing one that's not been cleaned, because I feel like about half of the coins that kind of exhibited mint luster, it was just the coins had been cleaned and brightened up and made to look nicer than they were. But we know a little bit more now, and so we're able to kind of skip the ones that just are nothing. And in some ways it's been a little bit disappointing to see how many cleaned coins we collected, but it's also learning, and so half of making these videos is hopefully we'll get to see some cool coins and some beautiful coins, but at the same time you guys can see a bunch of examples of damaged and clean coins, and you can avoid them in your collecting experiences. Almost looks like there's a tiny filled 9 here. It might just be a mark on the coin, pretty insignificant. Even when the different coins are filled in there, it's not necessarily an error, it's more usually just a very worn die. And so while I collected them and pulled them out, they aren't generally worth anything more. In fact, sometimes ones that don't have it are worth more money because it's considered a better strike on the coin. On the 7 here, it looks like it's probably a little bit of machine doubling from the coin being worn, but you can see there's a little bit of an extra 7 sticking out on the right side of it. We'll zoom in at the end of this video, and I'll try to I'll put things aside, and then we can go and look at things up close afterwards. But it's easier for me to find and see the whole view of the coin here. Looking at things like this, you'll undoubtedly run into coins like this that exhibit mint luster but have environmental damage. For the most part, unless it's a key date coin, the environmental damage on it really kind of detracts from any of the value of the coin. It kind of, puts them about in par with a very circulated coin. There is exceptions, probably, but with this one with all the greens on it, it's only going to get worse. Take a look at this one. It's got a little bit of environmental damage showing around the rim. It's got most of its original mint luster. It looks like it's primarily turned red-brown. This is getting very close to being considered a brown coin, because the mint luster is primarily only around the devices. I'm not seeing anything super special on the coin, any other reason that I put it aside other than the fact that it probably had more mint luster than the average coin I was going through. And while this one still has a little bit of mint luster, it seems like either it's a weak strike where Lincoln didn't get a lot of detail, or it's been worn just a little bit. The 5 almost looks like it has a little tiny bit of filling on it. Doesn't really add any value to the coin. And so I think that this box that I looked at, the coins are really all over the place. It hasn't really been organized by date or mint or anything like that. Little tiny specks of environmental damage up on the S in E pluribus. Pretty minor. I feel like a coin with like a single spot like that might still be gradable, but it's definitely going to detract. Here we have an earlier 1917D. However, you can see how smooth and shiny this coin is. It has been cleaned. A lot of older coins have definitely been cleaned. But just something to look out for when you have a coin that has almost no fine details on it, but it's all bright and shiny. It's usually a good way. You know, the front of the coin probably looked about the way this reverse did, and by them cleaning it, all of a sudden it, you know, starts to have some nice, happy, bright colors to it. And unfortunately, it actually makes the coin worth less. In some ways, it adds a little bit of eye appeal. Like this one here, I would definitely rather have a 1917D that hadn't been cleaned here. Like this one actually looks like it's got its original surfaces. It's, you know, not its original mint luster surface, but it hasn't just been scrubbed down to try to make it look better. And same with the reverse. This would be, if this graded, it would be a very low grade, but it looks like it's primarily its original surface, which is definitely better. There's like faint traces of environmental damage. Some of those might lift off if you had like the right tool, but at the same time, it would be cleaning it in a way, unless it just easily came off. Looks like the next one is a 1931P. And it looks like we have either some grime or environmental damage. Both kind of the same thing, except for one, the environmental damage primarily, like you can see, it's starting to eat into the surface of this coin. Some of it has kind of turned a red color, while some has turned a green color. Copper definitely produces different colors when oxygen and copper interact. They're not very good bedfellows. They kind of have a disastrous relationship. And next up, a 1931P. I'd say this coin has probably been cleaned. It definitely has better details than the other one we looked at. Maybe it's got a little rim ding at about 2 o'clock. That will detract from its value, and I mean it's kind of hard to see. This coin is pretty shiny, yet most of the details have been removed. The fields almost look natural, but Lincoln looks like he's been polished up a little bit. And if we take a look at the reverse is just about the same. I'd say the reverse looks less clean than the front, but the whole coin just looks a little bit too shiny, and it just doesn't look like a natural toning. It's kind of interesting down on the rim there. It's got some very, very bright colors. It's kind of like silvery. Doesn't really show up here. Next up, we've got a 1958P. It looks like it's kind of a low-grade MS. It's definitely got some environmental damage. Pretty minor on the reverse. Here we have a 1958P. Not really seen a whole lot going on with most of these. So far anyway. Let's see, on the reverse we've got a fingerprint. The surface on the reverse almost doesn't look natural. It almost looks like there's a little bit more wear. I mean, it's kind of showing up a dull red color here. In person it seems to kind of want to pop out a little bit brighter. I think that the majority of the reverse here has been cleaned. I believe the coin probably looked about the way the darker areas on the sides looked. Hey Bigfoot, silver hide and seeker. Yes, it may have been whizzed. So many ways to tool a coin, and maybe it wasn't a very good date or mint or anything like that. So maybe someone was doing some practicing cleaning coins or whizzing or tooling them, just to learn how to do it better, so that when they went to do it on a better date, it would be less obvious. This one seems like about an AU condition. What to do with a bunch of AU 50 and kind of low grade MS coins, I do not know yet. It looks like Lincoln's head was damaged here. I do not believe that happened at the mint. Looks like a little damage at 12 o'clock on this one as well. So it seems like about half of the coins. There has been a couple interesting ones where, like, is this an error? I feel like we've seen a couple wood grained ones, but I would say about half and half. About half the coins I feel like I collected 10, 20 years ago, they appeared to be cleaned or in kind of a high AU, low MS condition. I feel like there should be some boxes that are mainly like kind of like mid MS range, kind of like MS63 to MS65, because as I started to get more and more ones with mint state luster on them, I started to like kind of upgrade, and so we should get to boxes where it's like basically like 50 to 75 or so kind of mint state looking coins of every date and every mint. And the ones that I was able to find more of, there will be more better examples. Looks like there's some damage to the wheat stalk there, a couple scratches going across the coin here. But it definitely seems like I was a collector of damaged coins. Here we have a 1929S. It almost looks like there's kind of something interesting. I'm pretty sure it's probably damaged due to the fact of the appearance of the rest of the coin just above the mint mark there. We'll maybe put it aside and just see what it looks like up close. This coin's got some environmental damage and some pretty heavy wear on it. So I'm guessing it's going to look even less impressive up close. This is kind of another one of those 1929s where the 9 kind of appears to have a doubling to it. It's also got some, I'll call it scotch tape. It looks like there's some scotch tape on the left field and over Lincoln's head here. I think one of the things that was a question in my head when I put coins away like this, it's like, okay, like, well, this coin almost looks like it's gradable, like a very low grade, and whether, there'd be any purpose, but it's like, can that, like, kind of tape or surface damage be removed and, like, make this coin a gradable coin? And so technically that would be cleaning it by doing it, but it's probably possible. Here we've got a 1956D. It's about red-brown, but it's got a little bit of environmental damage. And the back is about the same, kind of a red-brown, almost a brown. I'd say there's about 5 to 8% original surface luster there. Here we have a 1958D, kind of a red-brown on the front. I don't see anything that's necessarily damaged there. It looks like there's a small scratch on Lincoln's coat there and one in front of his eye. There's a little bit of environmental damage on the reverse. hopefully we will start running into some cool coins in here. I feel like the first couple days we had more luck, but these are just kind of all over the place from collecting them over the years. It's like, how many coins with environmental damage and cleaning do I own? It's kind of surprising. I'm feeling like I should definitely, as I'm going through these, I should definitely be kind of putting ones aside. This one's got like some sort of, I mean, I want to believe it's damage. There's just some kind of like marking that goes down in a line on the right rim here. Almost looks like it wants to be lettering, but it looks like it's impressed instead of raised up. And it's not very clear. Maybe we'll be able to see it closer up if we zoom in. How many fingerprints do I have on my coins? 1958D. Nothing special that I'm seeing going on with this one. It's like, I feel like, like say with the E there, how they're almost like there's probably like a little scratch going through the E, or maybe the die had a scratch on it and made it on every one. I feel like even little tiny things like that, when I was collecting, like things like that would catch my eye and be like, what's that? And I don't know. How do I find out? And I feel like 20 years ago there just was not quite as much information on the internet. There wasn't as many. I didn't live in an area where there were people where I could talk to and be like kind of compare coins and say like, hey, what's this? Is this anything? No. Is this anything? No. If I had had somebody that was helpful and knowledgeable and could say damaged, 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 cleaned, damaged, probably could have saved myself a lot of time. And it's kind of interesting, like I've been getting the fever wanting to like roll hunt just because I enjoy watching other people do it here on YouTube. And at the same time I have all of these coins that are just sitting here from my roll hunts, and I'm like, well, I should, if I'm gonna roll hunt, I should probably deal with all these first, figure out what they are, figure out if they're worth anything, and you know, ultimately sell them if possible. I think my idea was I would get some of them graded, kind of go through them, find the best of the best and get them graded, but other than, say, like, or no, this isn't it. Uh-oh. I think I lost my one with the horns again. I'm gonna have to go back through everything and find it again. And so this one almost looks like it has like a trace amount of like a second rim in it. But I feel like that is pretty common now that I know about things, that just because it has like a trace of a rim going around the edge, it doesn't make it a double die. It doesn't make it any more valuable. Yes, an encyclopedia of die markers would be nice. I think Chuck is working on that. Like, hopefully Chuck, if he doesn't finish it in his lifetime, hopefully he'll donate his brain to coin science. Because I feel like there is a lot of really good ingrained memories in there that he's probably, like if they ever make like a computer grading program, maybe his brain can like run the AI. But let's wish that Chuck hangs around for another couple hundred years so we can just ask him questions. Yes, what does this penny smell like? This one's got kind of like just that little kind of rim circle on it as well. I probably flipped an entire roll of these, thinking, well, maybe it's worth money. Maybe it's rare. Some really awesome environmental damage. Love that coin. I love it. A little bit less damage on this one. I'm not sure what's going on with that L. We'll take a look at the front of it. You know, like, I feel like after going through a few thousand of these, I'm gonna be so psyched to look through some more mint cello rolls. Everything is just gonna look absolutely gorgeous. It'll be kind of like when I was making videos and I was doing all like high grade proof and all mint state, like high mint state coins, and then I'd go through like and like make videos and take pictures of a bunch of MS64, MS65. I could not wait to get back to like the higher graded ones. I'd just be like, another coin that I now consider ugly. It's kind of, I guess you get kind of spoiled. Yeah. Excuse me. I feel like it's like once you start like collecting higher grade coins, it's like harder and harder to like go back and appreciate the later stage dies and the more worn, destroyed coins. It's kind of sad. Like that. So like this is one I probably would have collected. I'm like, oh well, the O is, you know, half gone. Like this is an error. It's like, no, it's just a really worn die and probably a weak strike. I feel like for quite a lot of the coins, they just had they weren't struck very well. And it's interesting in the 1950s, like the L's in Liberty, they just, almost none of them are very clear. There seems to be so many things wrong. I know, I'm like hopeful. It's like I know that there's like a box of like woodies somewhere, and I'd love to be able to all of a sudden stumble upon a box of woodies and be able to enjoy those. But it's like, say, like this 1946p, like, it doesn't look like it's necessarily been cleaned. Maybe it's been polished. Maybe it's just the way that it wore. But it's like I cannot explain this in the collection. Maybe I thought the L looked kind of odd. It almost looks like there is a part of the L in the rim. I'm guessing that the rim just got dinged there. Maybe I thought I saw an L in it. We've got a 1929S. Pretty worn, kind of minor damage for it being so worn. Not a horrible circulated coin. I'd say it's better than most of them that we've seen. A little bit of darker area around the mint in person. I still have like the bright light on here. I feel like it's bleaching out the coins just a little bit. Here we have a 1957p. It's looking AU at the best. Maybe like an extra fine. It's got a rim ding. It's like, how many dings is a coin allowed to get and still be gradable? Here we have a little bit of the original mint luster. Kind of a scratch going down the rim on the right side there. scratch on his forehead. And almost looks like a lamination error on the reverse here. Rather minor, but it looks like the planchet had something going on. We'll zoom in a little bit closer. It looks like on the N and going into the O. I don't believe that is damage. I believe it's just like a defective planchet. Here we have kind of a low-grade 1945p. What could be going on with it? How did you get in a flip? No idea. I feel like we've seen quite a few 1945Ps that I'm just like, if I had the time to scratch my head every time we saw one. I feel like I've seen quite a lot of these kind of BU ones with the like little scratch on the die right below Lincoln's chin there. And is this a rim ding? It's like one side looks kind of extra thick and kind of doubled, and then on the other side it kind of looks cutty. I'm gonna assume that this is damage. It looks like it extends onto the rim. It's just for whatever reason, my camera won't pick up the edge of it this way. So I guess one thing that I like about not having the coins in flips is I can check things out like that. Looks like a pretty good scratch. It almost looked like a die crack going into the wheat ear there, but I'm pretty sure it's just a scratch. Yeah, I feel like the date and Liberty, I feel like, are the first two places I kind of look. And I feel like it was just from looking at tons and tons and tons of them, it's like that's where I'd often see the most obvious things going on. It's interesting how there's like a line, like maybe it's on the flip itself. There's like a line that just goes straight, and it's like so straight, but it looks like it stops about halfway into Lincoln, it hits his ear and stops. I definitely see a fingerprint. There almost looks like there's like some sort of grain pattern on it too, but I think it's just, maybe it's multiple fingerprints. A little bit of environmental damage on the reverse here. I can see a couple coins that have an E on the flip, and so there might be ones that could be an error in here, but as we've seen, things that I wrote errors, I feel like maybe I should have just put like question mark. And it's like, I don't know what this is. What is this? It's like the wheat stalks there are kind of interesting in that aspect that like some of them, maybe there's just some crud making the ones in the center there look more full. There's definitely something on the surface of this coin. It kind of like fills in that area between the wheat and the rim, and it's pretty shiny under the light. It looks like it's coated with something or damaged with something. Here we've got a 1953S, a little bit of environmental damage running around the rims. Other than that, it's kind of a red-brown coin. Almost looks like the O is just a little bit flat. It's probably a scratch going from the wheat stalk to the rim there. It's probably not a die crack. Here we've got pretty much a brown 1958p. Very, very, very little original mint luster color. Looks like the rim is a little bit thin. I'd say this is just pretty much a brown. It's either like a AU or like a very low mint state brown coin. But I don't see any damage on it that necessarily. I see the little scratch on the nose, but I think the coin can have one scratch on it and still be okay. At least that size. This one looks about AU to brown as well. I'm not seeing anything that stands out spectacular on here. Next up, another 1958p. It's got a scratch on the left field there. Not seeing anything special on the front. Scratch going into the O. Scratch on the S in states. Not seeing anything fancy here. Next we've got a 1929p. Looks like a pretty worn, circulated coin. A little bit of crud, maybe environmental damage in the date there. For the most part, a fairly clean coin, just heavily circulated. It's like I'd rather have one that looks like that, that's a little bit cleaner than one that's been cleaned. Next up, a 1925p. I believe, looks like a lamination issue. It looks like the planchet was pretty rough and just kind of like, I don't know, cracked when it was hit. I'm not sure what this would have looked like to begin with. It's possible that that's damage, but just it doesn't, I can't really think of how it would have been damaged like that. Take a look at the reverse, maybe a little rim ding and a little bit of environmental damage on the stock. Maybe we'll see if we can get a little bit closer to see why it's like kind of blistering up there. If it is a lamination error, it's not necessarily an impressive looking one. Here we have a 1958D. It looks like Liberty. The L is like just flush up against the rim. It's like almost like the L's in a lot of these 50s are just part of the rim. That looks like about the most interesting thing on that coin. Here we have a 1958p again. Not seeing anything special on this one. We can have a drinking game, guys. Every time I say special, you guys can have a drink is up then. Coffee, water, 151, whatever you guys like. Here we've got an 1825p. Pretty dark coin. Pretty much all the fields are black. Then like some of the higher devices are red, or not red, but kind of like a copper brown color. Super dark. It's kind of attractive in some ways, but I mean, this is like, I guess they talk about like milk chocolate kind of colored coins. Seems like this is a dark chocolate. This is like a 95% cacao color. Alright, next up, a 1958p. Looks like a brown coin to me. Little scratch below the S and the T. Looks like the rim has just like a little doubled line on it. Nothing special. Looks like a tiniest little bit of environmental damage on the tip of the wheat cent. So the tip of the wheat stalk. Next up, 1945, probably in kind of like extra fine AU condition. Just a little hints of original mint luster showing. Nothing really special for the date and mint that it is. This one I believe has been cleaned. I'm almost guessing that like the darker areas were the more of the original color of the coin, and then somebody has, for whatever reason, started cleaning it, and I think they gave up. Pretty sad. Pretty sad, guys. And it's like, say like this one, it's like the fields, they're almost like a red, like a bluish red-brown color. And so it's like one of the like kind of curious things to me. It's like I feel like when I see coins just sitting on my table, just, you know, ones that have been in circulation, I feel like they oftentimes like will have this like kind of bluish red-brown kind of toning to them. But it's like, you know, I'm assuming this one has been cleaned because you can see how rough and damaged the higher devices are, even the right field. Yeah, it still has this like wanting to be like a red-brown color. And it's like, I'm starting to just assume that all this is cleaning or just from different oil, you know, maybe oils in the hand or something. But it's like, I do see a lot of these, and I see them in, you know, maybe it's just, you know, coins that have been handled a lot. Metal detecting find. Yeah, so when you're metal detecting, it's definitely, it's like when you got a dirty, dirty coin, it's like, you want to know what that date is, and until you kind of clean it a bit, you just don't know what it is. So I really don't know what's going on. Like, there are a lot of just not, you know, these belong in just a solid date roll of wheat cents, or these belong in like a 5,000 count bag of wheat pennies. And I'm just seeing a lot of these 1945 flipped like this, and it's not like it's a better date, you know, like if it was like, you know, a teen or a 20, you know, despite what the mint mark was in that condition, sure. But for like something that you can still get rolls of uncirculated coins, I'm not 100% sure what they're doing in flips. And I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of the one flipping them. So some environmental damage on that one. 1925. I don't know, some of the surfaces on it look a little bit too bright to me. It's like Lincoln looks very, very, very flat. You know, there's almost kind of a grain texture to it. I mean, like, to me it almost seems like it has a wood grain to it, but it's been polished or it's been cleaned. Almost looked like there was like something stuck to the reverse of this one and somebody had to like scrape it off. Like, this almost looks like it had like, say, like a piece of tape on it and somebody cleaned it to get the tape off. I remember some of the coins in like my first Whitman folder, the holes were a little bit too big. Most were too small and I'd bruise my thumbs trying to get them in, but some were too big. And I'd put the coins in there over and over again, and every time I'd open them, the coins would just fall out, and I'd have to re-put them back in the hole. And I think at one point I probably like took some Scotch tape and did, you know, made the little circular kind kind of scotch tape trick and like put it in there, and it would help them stick and not fall out each time. I even wonder if there are some that are glued in there. It's like the things we did with our first coin collection. First rule of coin collecting, don't talk about your first coin collection. It's embarrassing. So this one looks like the die was pretty worn and everything just kind of got pushed up into the rim. Seems like the reverse is about the same. It's interesting, like the date areas on a bunch of these, it's just like super bright, like it's like all the luster has kind of stayed there, but the rest of the coin, not so much. Alright, this one says it has it's got an E on it. Okay, so it's got a filled 5. It's not necessarily an error. It's more of like die deterioration, later state die. This one's got an E on it. I'm guessing it's the same thing. I guess it looks like the S is pretty much touching the 5. Liberty looks like the B is only half there. That's kind of interesting. Most of these, there's extra B. Maybe the B got a little squished. It's always sad to see a B get squished. We'll take a closer look at that one to see what's going on with the B. This one has some nice scratches on it. Apparently I didn't think that this was an error. Like employees at the mint are playing tic-tac-toe with the coin. It's an error. This was never intended to go in circulation. This one's got an E. What should we find? Partially filled 5. Some environmental damage on the reverse. Maybe a sticky finger from... Maybe someone was eating some candy. Looks like the 5 is pretty much touching the S in this one. It's like that's something that I always just thought, you know, it's like it sticks out. It's like, wait, that's never like that. I want to see the tips of that wheat stalk closer. I mean, it looks fuzzy, it looks worn, but it almost looks like the wheat stalk is doubled there at the tip. That's one thing I've been trying to like keep an eye out, because I know that I found hundreds of ones like that, and I haven't been seeing any. Alright, here we've got a 1931p, some environmental damage, some rim damage. Another 1931p. Almost looks kind of like a wood grain on this one. Kind of cool. Looks like there's a couple scratches on the coin. It's interesting how the center there is so mellow and then the rest has this kind of granule. I'm going to guess from the look of this that whatever looks like in the S there, it's probably just grime, kind of like the 9 has. a 1958p. I think that's just a really lustrous part right between the 5 there. It's like the shiniest place on the coin. The reverse is pretty brown. $1953s. I think we'll take a closer look at the mint mark on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's probably just a little bit of buildup of something. $1958p, a little bit of extra metal there on the 5. It just mirrors, like, between we and trust, does there look like there's an S up there? Or at least a half S. I mean, it's probably just damage. I think I'll try to take a look at that. I think I need to start making 2 different piles. Make one pile that we're looking for something on the front, and one that we're looking for something on the reverse. Looks like either a flattened 9 and 5, or there's like a little extra there. Kind of looks like it's just been flattened. It doesn't look like extra metal, just kind of like lack of metal. Got a 1958p. Not seeing anything special on this one. We've got maybe a really dirty fingerprint. Almost looks like some ink from someone's desk. Maybe this was sitting in a desk and someone's pen exploded. Maybe this goes way back to the days when people still used ink pens. I'm not sure, I'm assuming that's damage up on the top on the rim. Hey Edwin Vasquez, welcome. We're not having any luck really here today so far. Haven't found anything extravagant. We've definitely looked at more clean coins and damaged coins and environmentally damaged coins than anything else. This one's kind of brown. I do want to look at just the date there. Here we have a 1958p. Kind of, there's a little environmental damage on the rim and on the letterings. But for the most part, AU brown. I don't see anything special on the reverse here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. 1953s. The D looks a little bit fat up on this one, and it looks like it's got a little extra on the rim. It's probably just machine damage. We'll take a closer look at it anyway. I feel like from what I've been learning about different varieties, it's I don't really see, I don't know, maybe you guys can correct me, but it's like I don't really see if like a couple of the letters have doubling or like a little extra of the letter even raised up. It doesn't seem like it adds any value to the coin. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are certain ones. I know that if there's like clear distinct doubling, but maybe it's if the entire letter is doubled, like if like, you know, there's just a clear doubling, then that's when it actually becomes worth money. Some of these things still confuse me a little bit. Couple scratches on this one. Good afternoon to you in Philly. Philly representing here today. Looks like the 3 on here is maybe a little bit squished. I don't see anything hiding in between. Is 1953 the, I can't remember which date, I think it's like a 53D. Is that the one that there's like a double die 1953 where there's like an extra little bit of 3 inside? Like just a sliver of 3 in between the notches. And some environmental damage on these. It's amazing how many of, like just the way the S is shaped and the debris gets trapped in it, they just all seem to look like they've got like a little RPM hiding in them. Like I feel like maybe we're just getting a lot of 1953s here. But it's like, I feel like every single one of these just looks a little bit odd to me when I look at them. Just like so many lights. Alright, well that's the end of this box. This one allowed me to go through things pretty quickly. There wasn't a lot jumping out. Looks just kind of like the D is a little bit flattened on the bottom. Looks like there's just a little bit of debris in the S there. I know, like right under the left side, it kind of looks like there's a little bit of something. And I don't think there is. I think we will, when we see stuff, I think it'll actually be a bit more distinct. There's definitely some debris under the edge of this one. I need a better camera. I definitely need a better one. It's like this one only cost about, I think, 120 bucks like 10 years ago. And I can only imagine what they can do these days. It does seem to do a pretty good job, at least, of making video. For how old it is, I'll give it that. I do feel like it used to have higher quality though before Windows 10 installed its like automatic updates. I feel like the Dino Light just gave them one standard update, and I've tried manually updating it, but it doesn't seem to change anything. Can't remember. I think all these 53S's, I just wanted to check up a little bit closer, and it really seems to just be debris and stuff stuck. Like underneath the top left side, everything does look like it has like just a little bit of raisedness to it, but I think it's just that little area there gets protected. Well, this one, I don't know if it has. This one is just one of the early Dino Light models. It wasn't like the professional grade. It was kind of like the mid-tier. It wasn't like the cheapest one they had, but it it definitely like I feel like there was like ones that were like $100, and then there was ones that were like 120, and then there were ones that were like $2,000, and I was like, I'm not gonna pay $2,000. So it was kind of that placebo effect of, okay, one's got a fancy sticker on it and it's the same as the other, but it's like a tenth the price of like the super expensive one. I'll buy that one. Where's the coin? So was this a lamination error, or was this just damage? I don't know, like up on the top above the date kind of looks like lamination error, and then like here it almost looks like someone was curious and like they like kind of like pried off the place that was laminated. Yeah, I need a camera that I can go a bit, and like if they weren't in the flip, I could go in just a little bit, like, but at the same time, then I'm like pressed right up against the coin, and I'm like, is that good for the coin? But that's also one thing that I've been trying to figure out is if I can remove the tip of my dyno light, because there's like a plastic kind of cone on the end, and it says that I can zoom in. So this one's got like a little lamination error on the reverse, it looks like. It doesn't look like a scratch to me. It looks like a lamination error at the O and the N. I feel like I heard a car door outside, but I might have to disappear in a second. Seems like it's been a thing whenever whenever I get on camera these days. All of a sudden, some old friend decides that they're gonna stop by. We will see if I get a knock at the door. $19.50D. And I'm thinking it's probably just a little tiny scratch. Oh, this is that one that had like kind of like the weird marking along the edge. It's like almost looks like it kind of wants to be a lamination. Just the way it begins and ends. But maybe another coin or something got like pushed up against it hard and just kind of imprinted in it a little bit. Oh, I already ate the pizza. Oh, you have pizza? Yeah, that's what I had for dinner and for breakfast. It's what all champion time travelers eat. Sometimes we go back in time and eat it again, and then we wonder where all our pizza went. It's kind of a cruel reality. This one's got kind of an interesting rim up there. It's like, why is there a separation between the field and the rim? Am I losing it? Do all coins have that? Here, let's look at another one. So this one's just, it's got that like little extra piece of 7. It's like there should just be like a poor man's double die series where like every single coin that like commonly has like a double digit like kind of piece on it, that there should be a collection of those for those of us that can't find the double dies. There should be something like that. Something for the rest of us to collect. I mean, it's like you try to find the major varieties and that's hard enough, and then it's a little easier to find the minor varieties. So I think there was something on the reverse. I think it was the wheat ear. It just looked kind of like thicker and fuzzy. Maybe it's just the dark shadow this one has. A little bit of pretty luster in there. Didn't see that. But I don't think that this one has anything going on special. I think my hand is blocking the light, but then where'd it go? Which one were we looking at here? 58D. So this one's just, I think this was actually from the last box we went through in the last show. I think I forgot to put this one away. It kind of looks like there's a little bit of debris on the right edge of the D and then a little bit in the side, and I don't know if the bottom just got smashed, but I feel like this one had kind of looked like the 5 and the 8 and the 9 just looked a little bit doubled. And it's interesting, like when I looked at the S and the T and everything up here at first, they looked super doubled, and when I've gone back and looked at this coin a couple times after, like I see some kind of weirdness to the S, but I'm not seeing anything on the T like I was before, which is just odd to me. This one was also from the last box, I think. It's like the Poor Man 1958, where like the 8 is just kind of like faintly doubled. Oh yes, look. There's an extra Lincoln eyelid right behind the ear. Yes, I should look for my key date. I should only use Etsy and Wish for my key dates. This is brilliant. You use it as a reference. I don't know, this sweet stock, it's probably just a scratch on it, but it almost looks like it has like the doubled end. And it's probably just my light. I'll probably turn it. Yeah, I think that as far as streaming on YouTube, I think I need to probably limit myself to about 2 hours a day under the microscope, because like everything does start to look amazing the longer you look at things under a microscope. That's just the amount of errors you can find. I mean, I don't know, maybe this has been tooled, but one thing I haven't seen a lot of is where there is this line and spacing in between the rim and the plane of the coin. And have you seen anything like this? I mean, did somebody like scratch it? I mean, it seems to be from about noon. I don't know, it's like almost like I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, if you can't beat them, join them. If you can't stop all the people from posting rare coins on Etsy, you know, and they're making tens of thousands of dollars, you know, just make your only payment source like Bitcoin or something like that. You know, it's like, sorry, this coin is too rare. I want Bitcoin. I don't want cash. Do you guys have a double ring? I don't know. Yeah, I don't. This I think that this is the first coin that I've ever seen a separation between the coins fields, and you know, like sometimes I'll see like, you know, on this side it's like more of like a divot. I don't know. Let me just pull out another random one. Look at. I mean, it's like the rim. It's like there's sometimes, you know, it looks like that like kind of line, and then where the portrait, there's obviously a gap in between there. But it's like there's not just this like a drop off. There's not this space. It's like there might be like a fine line, but there, like that one, it's like clearly separated. Like it's like almost like the die that was stamping it was like smaller. Like the die had like shrunk. Right? It's like Etsy, where you can sell a coin for a penny. It's like the old eBay. Like when eBay first came out, it's like if you found, you know, like something's truly unique looking, you could sell it. I just want to look at this. How is this thing attached? I'm gonna blind myself for a second. It looks like there's like kind of like four. It does not look. Okay, so that's one thing. The bulbs and the LED inside here. I guess what I'm looking at is it's like, so this is the Dino Light here, and so this is the Dino Light digital microscope Premiere. But you see how there's this plastic piece on here? It basically won't let me go in farther than, and so right now it looks like it's at approximately 30x, and so that's what we're looking at. But it goes all the way to 230x. But because there's this much space, I can't go to 230x. And so like the question in my head is, if I hadn't noticed that, like when I'm, you guys can't see it, but when it's kind of like a pupil dilating, when I go in and out, the camera actually goes up like past this part, but there's still like that much space there. You know, if it was something smaller than a penny, technically I could raise it up into that little protective shield, and I understand why that protective shield is there. If I hit the coin, if it gets marked up, it's going to damage it. In 1943 steel penny, yeah. It's like so I was like it's like with the 19 or a a copper steel penny. No, if you'd be best to like sell like a copper, yeah, the copper 1943 steel, and then be like, and with like magnet authentication, like system, like if the coin sixes, then you just sell like a demagnetized magnet. It's like, see, here we'll include a magnet in it to authenticate it with. um, Sorry, I feel like I'm describing a conspiracy now. I'll keep my mouth shut. Um, but yeah, the nines on a bunch of these 1929 S's that I have too. It's like they were pressed so hard in. It's like there's just like a double nine, and I feel like when I went in super close on them, it didn't really. It's like the nine just disappears. I think my camera's backwards. I'm like trying to zoom in. But yeah, it's like I don't understand this gap. Right. It's like the camera is like reversed all of a sudden. Either that or I just need a break again. It's crazy. I just took a break. Oh, that's what's up. It's it's all spun around. I don't know. It's interesting though. The gap looked better when I was less zoomed in. Yeah, well, what's going on at the mint mark there? Is that just damage? Like now that I'm up closer, it almost kind of looks like there is like another thing there. How long have I been streaming? Only 72 minutes. Normally I can go to about 2 hours before. Yeah, but I mean, it's like the thing with like the 1943, like copper, the true one, the real one, is I'm sure that there was like a mint employee who just saved some of the like the copper planchets and then like, you know, covertly just like inserted them into the machine, waited on the other side. He's like, I'll make $1 million. And then he probably, threw one into circulation just so that, I don't know, maybe everybody gets strip searched going in and out of the mint every day. I don't know what kind of fun they have there. Um, but it's like, I don't see how they would necessarily stop people from doing things like that. I think only one was found in circulation, but I feel like all the other ones were like kind of like, I feel like it was a gift. I mean, wasn't there like 5 or 6 of them found? Like, but it was like 5 of them were in like kind of like private collection. I don't know, it just seems like a lot of stuff like that. It's like a lot of these really, really rare coins, like say like the 1856 like flying eagle cents. I feel like those were basically just given to really important people as like it was kind of like a pattern at the time, and it was like just some of them, they were more like made as samples, it seems like, and then like important people would get the samples. But it's like you do see like the cool coins where it's like a penny struck on like a dime planchet and stuff like that. And it's like, it does seem feasible that things like that would happen. Um, but I've never been inside the mint. they have some weird time barrier buffer thing, so going into my time machine is just, I don't know. Yeah, from my understanding, only one was found, like, from people searching or finding randomly. It almost seems like, I mean, it almost seems like you could, like, I don't know exactly what kind of, like, stuff they do. It's like I worked with bronze in school, and I got pretty good with, like, casting small objects and stuff, and I understand striking stuff, and I don't know, like, it seems like there are some pretty trained artisans around the world. I mean, like, if you look at, like, kind of like the counterfeit markets and stuff in the world today, like, there's some pretty good counterfeits starting to be made. Like, some of the people are probably getting as skilled as the mint employees, you know, with like a millionth of the capital to, like, you know, create and set up their, like, minting places. Like, people are getting pretty good, and that's one of the things that kind of worries me about any kind of collecting these days, whether it's like a coin or a magic card or a baseball card. Is like, it's like I feel like we're, like, starting to get to that, especially with, like, 3D printing and stuff like that. Some of the 3D printing, it's like, I swear one day someone's just gonna be able to, like, scan, like, do a 3D optical scan on, like, a PCGS slabbed coin, and, like, the scanner is just gonna, like, print out the coin, slab, cert, everything, and, like, to the naked eye it will look like a PCGS graded coin, and the person didn't even have to do anything. They just hit a button and said print, and it's like we've got replicators. It's like getting there. It's like, what will people collect when you can just replicate and duplicate something? It's like, I know not everything is replicatable, but we're kind of getting close. So I'm trying to think. It was one kid found one on school, keep it for a long time to catch it through the years, catch it through the years. So I think I'm going to call it a show here. I appreciate the conversation, and I apologize for disappearing. I'm going to try to get some more stuff ready, and I will definitely have another show tomorrow morning. It's going to be early, probably about 8 o'clock, and I might have another show later this afternoon, evening. I just got to get a couple things done for the weekend to get ready for this long, crazy week I'm going to have this week. But thank you, Edwin Vasquez, and thank you, Bigfoot Silver Hide and Seeker. Do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for watching. I will have tons more coins. Like, I don't know, it's like, I know I've got like 3-4 different projects going on here, and it's just going to get crazy. If I'm able to in the future, I'm just going to start doing multiple shows, just covering different things a day. And I've got a bunch of other ideas. Like, literally, I'm going to try to make 10,000 videos this year. Some of them will be longer streams like this. But I'm just going to go crazy this year. So it's going to be fun. I'll see you guys all in the future. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for your input. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the conversation. Always enjoy it. Hope you guys have a great afternoon, and I hope to see you guys later if I can. Until next time, see you guys in the future.